some people argue that that it's not really internal what he's doing, that he's just another of a long line of guys who has some external skill and they can impress people with it, and they slap the name Taiji on it and it sells very well, and that's all there is to it. Why have you stayed with Sam for so many years as you have?
I have had the great opportunity here in life to have some good teachers. I've been doing my best to be a good student. I'm not great myself. I'm doing these things out of a hobby, and I enjoy it, and I keep enjoying it. And I have had, including Sam Tam, I've probably had, let me think about, 3 main teachers, 2 or 3 teachers who are not my main teachers but were still my teachers, and then I have quite a few more that I did learn from and did take something away from when I didn't learn from them anymore. For my main Chin style teacher, I was with him for close to 9 years. With one of my main teachers in the Master system, I was very, very close for 8 years. Spent during a year, many hours with him, many weeks, months even at some point. With Sam Tam, I've been with him for the last 13 years. Visiting him in Vancouver maybe, I don't know, over 30 times, 5 to 35 times or something like that. He's been in Denmark as well quite a few times also. And you know, when you meet a person who really has a high level, in the beginning I didn't understand it at all. And I would say even today I don't understand it completely, because since all of a sudden he throws up a thing that I wasn't really ready for. Or didn't expect. When I went there with him first time, I actually went there with my former teacher. And my former teacher arrived one day before me. And I had sort of expected, I had already met Sam Tam before. I arranged a workshop with him in Copenhagen, and I felt he was good, but not great, I thought. And that was just my ignorance. And let me get back to ignorance. If I forget about it, then bring it up again. So when I went to him to visit him, I thought that my former teacher and him were just about equal. Maybe even my former teacher would be better. Until I realized that there was no comparison. And my former teacher said he is very, very high skill. Now I won't name names because apart from that I named Sam Tam, I won't mention the names about the different people in an interview. That will not be fair when they're not here themselves. But for sure it turned out that there was such a huge gap, and my former teacher was really good at the point. So we started both as students from Master Sam Tam, and both we had the same attitude towards us. Of course, when you meet somebody who is really, really skillful, and you are in the great luck that you can learn from the person, why shouldn't you do it? If they accept you as a student, and that it would be stupid to keep on doing something else, which is not the same level. But without having done what we have been doing previously, we would never been capable of doing these things also. So you know, it all sort of fits in together. And at that point, when I felt and I also saw Master Sam Tam throwing people here and there, up and down, and against his mattress on the wall and so on, in the beginning I thought, well, yeah, he's very powerful, he's strong. Until my healthy mind stepped a little aside and looked at him and said, well, he reaches me about this high. I overweigh him. I was definitely not fat, but I overweighted him maybe with 20 more kilos. 20 years younger. I'm exactly 20 years younger than him. I saw him throwing people who were weighing 130, 140 kilos, and so on. It hadn't anything to do with power or strength or holding out a kettlebell, shaking a pole for hours, or all these kind of things that you hear people claim is internal sometimes even. It's ridiculous. It's just because they never met a teacher who really have the internal level. That I'm 100% sure of today. And so, you know, having the great opportunity to keep on learning from a person who is way higher level than me, it would be stupid not to. Does it mean that I never meet anybody else? I still meet somebody now and then. I had some years where I did travel quite a bit to Taiwan. There's a couple of guys down there that's definitely very, very high level. Then I stopped doing it for a period because I sort of had a little bit too much on my plate. You also have to practice things. This last year I did meet quite a few different teachers, some famous, some not famous. Maybe the not famous should be famous and the famous should not be famous. I don't know. But anyway, sometimes it's time again to touch hands with the people to see how's the world out there right now. What I experience when people say things like what you are referring to is that you sort of, if you look at it this way, if you can have ignorance is okay. We are all of us are ignorant at some point, and we in some point in life we are ignorant about things, but there's still hope. I mean, we can learn something, then we're not ignorant anymore. Then you can be arrogant. Arrogant, once again, I would trace it back to fear and insecurity. But even an arrogant person, under the right circumstances, under the right teaching, and so on, it can change. But if you have the combination in ignorance and arrogance, it's a whole other ball game. It's quite difficult to change, because the ignorant will keep on being arrogant, and the arrogant will keep on thinking that they know a lot, meaning they still become ignorant, and so they jump back and forth like that. And a lot of people are there. That when people talk about Sam Tam, it's normally people who never met him, who never touched him. I watched many videos with people visiting him. I watched many people thrown on the floor, thrown against his mattress and so on. People with a name. I watched many people going to a workshop with him. People with a name, same thing happened. Did he go out and put it on the internet and say, well, how come this guy you say is so great, but he can't actually do anything? Did anybody hear me talk about names and so on? But the fact is that's how it is. So when people talk about, if it was a person who actually went to Sam Tam, who learned from him, who said, well, he can't do much, he's not that great. Fine. Maybe that person then is great himself, but it's not the case. It's always people who just watch the video, working for the current, from the current level of understanding and their perspective, analyzing it, trying to fit it into their boxes, which are basically either full with all kind of useless thing, or it's quite empty. And then they start saying things. So to me, it's just these kind of things are not even worth spending 1 second on. And now I spend like 5 minutes.